All right, about 2 days after Munya was asked from the cabinet, obviously the headlines are still on Peter, not Munya rather, but Mwangi Kiunjuri was asked and Peter Munya took over that ministry. And there's a lot of other departments within the ministry that were given back to him. Obviously, we expect the headlines to still be on the Deputy President, William Ruto, and obviously the dailies will still be talking about the axing of Mwangi Kiunjuri. But let's take a look at three dailies this morning. The Daily Nation headline that we're running is, where was Deputy President William Ruto as Uhuru sacked his ally? Remember yesterday, the headline also, the Daily Nation was questioning if at all Uhuru Kenyatta had fired Deputy William Ruto's possible deputy in 2022. So this morning also, the question the Daily Nation is asking and is answering, and we'll be telling you more about this. You can alternatively grab your copy of the Daily Nation if you need to know where Deputy Ruto was during that event that happened at State House Mombasa. We'll be telling you shortly with my panel. Let's take a look at what the Standard is saying this morning. And the Standard also has a big picture of Deputy President William Ruto, and the Standard is questioning if he is an outsider in the government. William Ruto, and constitutionally Ruto is a second in command in the government, yet today he is a spectator with civil servants and politicians around the center of power, treating him with contempt. Not expected of a deputy president, but is happening. And the Standard is questioning if he's an outsider in his own government, because it's been said that the government is between the president and the deputy president. And finally, The Star is talking about Kenyatta elbowing Ruto and taking over crucial ministries. And as at this time, the president has, according to The Star, has 16 key cabinet secretaries on his side, leaving Deputy President William Ruto with only 5 out of the 21 ministries so far. So these are the headlines this morning. And obviously, they have put the pictures of the key members of Uhuru's inner cabinet. That's Fred Matiang'i, Ukur Yatani, Peter Munya, and obviously Macharia is also there. So these are the headlines that the dailies see you this morning. Ben Mulwa, Harriet Chigai, Vice President LSK, Mheshimiwa from Saboti Kalebamisi, and our pleasure to have Ruth Ambogo also with us this morning to discuss this. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to talk about is the meeting that is taking place on the 18th. That's on Saturday in Mumias, right? It's this meeting, even before it happens, there's a lot of storm about it. Yesterday, Francis Atwoli, COTU Secretary General, came out and spoke about this. He's been very authoritative. One of the things that he said yesterday was that the people who are planning to disrupt the meeting by holding a parallel meeting in Western Kenya will be locked inside their houses. Something that did not sit well with a lot of people, but that's what he said. And everyone is trooping to Western Kenya. We saw what happened in Kisii. Some leaders allied to the deputy president have said it turned into a bashing ceremony for the deputy president. But let's bring you back to Western Kenya. And let me bring Saboti, Member of Parliament, because that's your area. Is this meeting, the parallel meeting, is it going to happen or not?
Thank you for having me today. I think we all agree that we have only one meeting for BBI in Kakamega, Bukungu. The entire Nyanza region congregated at one point. There was no any parallel meeting in Nyanza. So we don't expect also another parallel meeting in Western region. So we only have one meeting, and any other, I think, is been outlawed.
Bukungu Stadium, honestly. And the law allows people to congregate. Harriet, I'll bring you in. What are these people doing by telling people from Western Kenya that they should not be converging in Mumias and have a parallel meeting?
Well, I think legally speaking, from where they stand, the permits have been withdrawn. The question is whether it was fair or not, or to converge and have any kind of discussions that they want to. The question then is, what is the legality of that? What we are seeing that is being played currently is pure everybody to have their meeting or none of them, to the common mwananchi cutting across board. It has to be shared. The common mwananchi has to be taken through it. They have to be, it is in that document. Okay. So it is important that we allow open discussions when it comes to this document, because it has very good provisions. It's a document that Kenyans should take ownership. We can only do that if we allow open discussions around the document, and that is what we call public participation.
Okay, but the fact...
Maybe even I correct. The meeting in Mumias was not supposed to have divergent views on BBI. All the people who are purported to, arrange another parallel meeting, they all active meeting if you do not, have a different views.
The problem, I'll come back to that. I just like to set the stage for this. I'll come back to that because there's a rationale, there's an argument against and for that. But Harriet, until now, people have not received the document on the ground, the BBI report. People don't have it. What are we discussing? What are we selling to the people?
And I think that is what is concerning Kenyans. The document needs to be exposed to everyone so that even when they're having these discussions, they are having the discussions from the point of know-how. They're just not discussing a document that has not been exposed. For those who have had an opportunity to contribute to the exposed to them. So it is important that this particular document, and personally I think it has very good provisions, needs to be offloaded to the common mwananchi so that people, and even summarized. Can we have a simplified version for those who have forums where even the elders within the villages can authoritatively speak on the content of that particular document.
Okay.
So it's important that this document is given out to everybody,
the people so that they understand it. Okay.
Let teachers have it. Let persons with authority within the village centers have it.
Okay.
So that we can discuss this document from a point of know-how.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm coming to Ruth and Ben to comment about the meeting and the cancellation of the parallel meeting that was supposed to take place in Mumias. But we have been reporting this morning that the Kenya Power is conducting a raid at some of the facilities that they have installed out or off Mombasa Road. And currently that's what's going on. That is connecting illegal power connections and transformers and all. Our reporter Mel Miendo is on the ground. Those are the pictures. We'll be speaking to her shortly, even as we leave those pictures as they begin that operation. But let me bring Ben in now. Ben, the fact that the reason that is being given is by the police, this is likely to cause commotion, violence in town, confusion and all. Is that sufficient? I'm looking at Mumias. I'm looking...
Be on record stating is that the greatest threat to security in this country is the National Police Service. We don't have a police service. What we have is an armed militia of it's BBU. And we have to agree the Atoli presented it must be stopped now. Not tomorrow about BBI, which to my best of knowledge and understanding amounts to nothing. It is a huge conversation about nothing. I have been privileged to visit very many parts of the western part of this country where my friend Caleb comes from. And one of the key things I would have expected, Atoli, instead of issuing threats to fellow Kenyans who wish to meet up or these who are losing jobs every day with companies closing because of a destroyed economy. Those are the things I would expect people to be holding meetings about. We should be talking about the dead sugar industry in the western region. But now here we are issuing threats to fellow Kenyans about a document that amounts to nothing. What we have and all this BBI conversation, and now that we have BBI Season 2, this is actually a deliberate effort by the state to keep the country busy with nothing, while we are not addressing the real issues that are affecting Mwananchi. As we are speaking this morning, there are hundreds of thousands of young kids. We have seen on social media appeals about young kids who are not able to proceed to secondary school because of... I would challenge here, Mheshimiwa is my friend. Even his own constituents do not have this BBI document. The people of Kakamega do not have that document. The people of Ukambani do not have that document. Yet we are busy calling public rallies and discussing about nothing.
Okay.
In my view, what we need to be discussing as a matter of urgency, and especially I would challenge my colleagues, my friends who are in parliament. We have a national crisis of kids who are not able to go to school. Yet,
I said no child shall be turned away from school because of lack of school.
But the reality is they don't
have money, but they're admitted. Even the cases that you're talking about,
admission is one thing. Admission is one thing.
Social media, they're in school. It's just that they have not been able to pay. But they have.
But you see, where we are right now, like the same way we have been able to extract some little money to afford milk farmers, which is really a good thing.
We should put some.
We should be able to have some little money to ensure that these kids are going to school.
I understand your line of argument. We'll come back to you, but let me speak to Ruth. Something about this meeting. You saw what happened in Kisii. It's headed to Western. However, Western is getting nasty because there are threats and intimidation. Yeah. If you're not supporting us, don't even come out of your house. Yes.
It is actually unfortunate because when the BBI report was being launched at Bomas, I remember every speaker who took to the podium to speak mentioning the word that this is now an open door for conversation. And when they said conversation, I was hoping, and I think they meant that the conversation was supposed to be about how the country is supposed to move forward, some of the concerns that the Mwananchi do have. And so if there is a parallel meeting that is being organized in Western Kenya to discuss issues affecting Western Kenya, then that should be something that should be celebrated as one of the gains, or rather the benefits of the BBI, because remember they said it is a conversation. So if a certain group feels that we need to have a conversation about our sugar sector and to be 12 months, and notably missing out of his 6-point agenda was how he planned, or rather how his government plans to revive the sugar sector.
No, actually,
which
he spoke about it.
He spoke about it as
he said
an answer
a task
to
force, yes,
as an answer to a question.
Yes.
Meaning it was not in part of his 6-point main agenda.
And he explained the reason why he did not mention it when he mentioned the tea sector. He said the reason why he omitted it is because there's a task force and they're waiting for the report and they'll act on the report.
Well and good.
Yes.
But then again, I mean, I still encourage the spirit of conversation, which is what all the leaders spoke about. And it would be unfortunate, and I think people need to ask, who is Atwoli? I mean, what position is he holding in government? Forget about Kotu. What position is he holding in government? What authority does he have to convey such threats to people? And I think, you know, when you begin to have, you know, the only time I presidential campaigns, that when the president is campaigning in a particular area, there shouldn't be a parallel opposing campaign. Presidential candidates, I mean, should not campaign at the same region at the same time. I think that is the only regulation I have had that is against having meetings at the same time and at the same place. So I think when you begin to offer threats to people who hold divergent opinions, basically what you're not against BBI. And again, I also express the sentiments that not very many people have the report at their hands. And that is why we are encouraging these meetings that are ongoing across the country. This BBI that was meant to unite Kenyans. When the president was delivering his address, one thing he mentioned was that he felt very unfortunate that in his efforts to unite Kenyans, it appeared as if he was sidelining some people. Okay. And even the people, those who support Ruto and his allies towards the end of December had mentioned in the spirit of conversation, these are some of the conversations we should encourage.
Okay.
But then again, also to Kenyans, my question would be, why is it that when the BBI conversation begins, that is when we begin to remember that, oh, our governor has been working or not? Where have we been all along?
Okay. And Harriet, even as you talk about contribute next, the fact that this is not the first threat Atwoli is issuing, you remember the time he said he will have a list of leaders from Western Kenya. He will actually write the list himself. And if you're not on the list, you cannot contest. So it's the second, it's not the first threat.
I think we need to start looking at ourselves and ask our politics of 20. The question then is, what are we willing to do to safeguard that space? For our leaders, what are we doing to ensure that we don't plunge this country into a state of anarchy, or we don't plunge this country into a crisis situation entrenched within BBI, because the handshake really is trying to sell the spirit of cohesion, togetherness, forgiveness. We are putting in place structures to ensure that all Kenyans are comfortable within their own sphere of right and our economy. That should also be our #1 priority. Agriculture is the bedrock, or rather the heartbeat of the economy in this country. And you'll realize Western region, when we talk about the staple food, which is maize, currently as we speak, the silos, I'm sure, are empty. What are we doing? What does this? So those are the things we need to be addressing now. We need to be self-reflecting and tell ourselves, in as much as we've welcomed a lot of foreigners in this country to do business, the question then is, what are we sending out there?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Let me bring Caleb, because I stopped him. Caleb, there are more important, if you listen to Ruth and Harriet, there are more important conversations we should be having in the country, especially that region where you represent, by the way. There's so many conversations that we should be having, aside from just promoting the BBI, that on the ground, I'm sure you will tell us your constituents haven't received a copy. They don't even know what you're selling or it's going to be sold over the weekend. There are more important conversations.
I have supplied enough copies to my constituents.
You have printed physical copies for yourself? Okay.
Yeah,
unless you've done it for yourself.
I actually hold forums just to educate them on the provisions of this BBI. I agree with her on one thing, that Western region is currently facing the worst in this country in terms of development, in terms of our economic backbone. Everything from agriculture to what makes us a people is all gone. And I think it has been fed by the past leadership.
Okay.
The very people who are supposed to be holding parallel views and rallies in senior positions in this government, they had an opportunity to shape the course of Western province or Western region. They have failed. Now we have been offered with an opportunity to have a discourse on where our region has gone wrong. The only sensible thing a person of their status must do, if they still, you initiated the program, you were at the BBI bombers, you attended the initial meeting of BBI, you supported, you came out strongly and say, I support this document, I support it is good for our nation. I mean, nations have gone to war to reach to where we are. We are now coming as a people to have a peaceful discourse on what has been bedeviled in our nation every other election. So it is only fair for you to attend the meeting that you also attended in Bomas. Okay. It was the same meeting. It was the same BBI meeting. You attend the meeting, air out your contrary. The people who attended the KISI meeting, they did not agree in everything that was in BBI. Some were even giving contrary, some were even adding more things that they think that must be captured. So that's what the Western leaders needs to go. We should not be perpetuating this culture of division and disunity every time that we cannot hold our meeting as together, just the way the people of Nyanza, you will see Coast holding one meeting. And Makiu is not everybody in Nyanza who is in handshake. Some are with Tangatanga, others do not agree. But they were all there. So really? We also want the Western people.
He's an ODM member. How would you
yes, but he doesn't agree. Okay. He always...
Entirely.
Yes,
okay.
Entirely.
He takes a different position.
But we saw him there. Okay. That's why we want the Western people to come together as a region. We don't want to be a laughing stock every other day, that we can never be together, whether you agree with the meat or not.
Just a quick minute.
A quick one, yes.
Is really a ban. No, primarily, you see, what we need is perhaps the same way we have understood the challenges that the coffee sector, the tea sector, and even the dairy sector has been facing. I would imagine a meeting like this on Saturday should have this 10 or 15 or 20 billion. If people were to see specific development-oriented projects being undertaken, all the people will come along.
Okay.
They will not need to be called